I never see people where they're greedy, like northern elites. I get video for now. When I know say if I come to make my video, I know they lie, and I know they look face, and I know they fear anybody.
There are three forces that will never allow Nigeria become a country in reality. These three forces tears down the soul of Nigeria, and hence Nigeria will never become a country. Because in reality,
during Biafran War, my mother was here, and the British consulate sent a message to my mother as a British citizen and said, we are sending this message for you to get out.
All right. International press conference on the continued detention of Malam Nasru Ahmad El-Rufai and the alleged plot to poison him.
All right, if you observe now, you notice that there are two types of requests Nigerians are making from the north, from the southwest. Is the southeast majorly that is calling for complete separation, which they have been agitating for, because southeast case is a special case. But you see, the west, the north, many of them now are calling for confederal system as a regional system. So, but let's hear this. You will see the reason why they are calling for this. Though these are the things that, that have been said earlier before now, but people felt that some people are greedy. Let's watch.
Nigerians at home and abroad, please pay attention. This is not ethnic profiling, segregation, or attack, but simply stating the realities that confronts the Nigerian country. Please listen without bias. Just pay attention. There are three forces that will never allow Nigeria become a country in reality. These three forces tears down the soul of Nigeria, and hence Nigeria will never become a country. Because in reality, Nigeria is not a country, because Nigeria does not have a soul. Now these three forces are perpetually against each other, and these three forces will never allow a common goal for Nigeria to thrive. Now hear this. These three forces are represented by the notable and major tribes of Nigeria: the Hausas and Fulanis, the Yorubas, and the Igbos. These are the three forces that will never allow Nigeria grow. Why? Let me tell you how. Why will these three forces not allow Nigeria grow? This is the reason. These three forces, represented by the three major tribes of Nigeria, have different agendas according to their region that does not allow Nigeria have a Nigerian dream. The Igbos have their dream and agenda. The Yorubas have their dreams and agenda. The Hausas and Fulani has their agenda and dreams. Let me start with the agenda of the Hausas and Fulanis. What is the predominant agenda of the Hausas and Fulanis? This is it. The Hausas and Fulanis are always in perpetual agreement for a common goal for their region. One of their agendas is that they want Nigeria Islamized. As far as their agenda of Islamizing Nigeria is concerned, no other thing is important in Nigeria. Another notable agenda of the North is this. They want to hold sway to leadership in Nigeria, from the presidency to other areas and facets of leadership in Nigeria, in the military, in the police, and all the key positions in Nigeria. As far as the North has their people as the leaders of Nigeria, they don't care what happens to the country. They don't care what happens to that part of the country. Another agenda of the North is this. The North will never allow Nigeria disintegrate. Why? Because of the oil-rich Niger Delta. If Nigeria disintegrates, Nigeria will lose its economic stay that stems from the Niger Delta. And one of the regions that holds this belief and will never allow Nigeria break up is the North. Because the colonial masters have already implanted that in their ideology. They have been indoctrinated that once Nigeria disintegrates, the oil of the Niger Delta will no more be a commonwealth of the country. Another agenda of the North is this. They use terrorism, banditry, to destabilize the government run by anybody who is not from the North. Let me give you an example. During Jonathan's time, the same thing happened. Okay? And currently, Tinubu has fallen apart with the North, and you can see what is happening. Another example that will let you know that the North upholds the common agenda of the North against the common goal of Nigeria is this. Look at the elites from the North. Look at the followers in the North. They sympathize with terrorists. They sponsor terrorism. They don't want anything to go against the agenda of terrorism. That's why even though people are dying in the North, including Christians, most especially, and the North and Northern people, they don't care as far as it is being promoted by their religion. That is the agenda of the North, and that is against the common growth of Nigeria. Now let's go to the Yorubas, notably represented by the Western Nigeria. What is the agenda of the West, the Yorubas? The agenda of the West is to control the economic and commercial power of Nigeria. The West, or the Yorubas, wants the commercial headquarters of Nigeria to remain in the West, notably Lagos. Let me give an example to prove that this is true. The West would never allow the water bodies of other states to be dredged, so that Lagos will remain the commercial headquarters. That's why the seaports in other states will be abandoned, like the Calabar seaport, the Ibom seaport, and the rest of them will never be allowed to see the light of the day, because the West knows that once that is done, the commercial headquarters will be removed from the West. Now, what is another agenda of the West, the Yorubas? This is very, very troubling. One of the notable agenda of the West or the Yorubas is this. The Yorubas or the West is always forming an alliance with the North, the Hausas and Fulanis, for a common goal against the rest of the country, especially politically. Whenever the North and the West come into alliance to make sure that they elect a leader that will lead Nigeria, there is nothing any other part of the country can do. Let me give you a very clear example of this. During the presidential campaign of the late President Buhari, the North and the West formed alliance. That alliance from the West was carried out or represented by Tinubu to make sure that the Buhari got into power. You could see the North and the West fell behind Buhari, and Buhari was put into power. And of course, you are a living testimony of how bad the government of Buhari was. Did anybody care? No. As far as the North and the West accepted and promoted their agenda with that alliance, it came to pass. Another example, the current president of Nigeria. It was also an agenda of the North and the West to bring in Tinubu into power against all odds and adversity. That's why the whole North and the West fell behind Tinubu. That's why after voting, the late President Buhari had to display his ballot paper, which is against the law, display to prove that really he voted for Tinubu. Another example to show you how this alliance between the North and the West is true is this. In the current dispensation, Nigeria for the first time is running a Muslim ticket. How did that come to be? It was an agenda of the North and the West, and no matter what the other part of the country did, they could not undo that, they could not challenge that, and it's a reality today. And of course, you could see the effect of this alliance. Look at the government of Tinubu. What can you say of it? Now let me give you the agenda of the Igbos. The Igbos in their agenda are the most decentralized people in Nigeria. The Igbo man does not really care whoever is the leader of Nigeria, whether from the presidency to the military or to any aspect of the Nigerian leadership. The Igbos don't care. What the Igbos really care about is to advance the cause of their enterprise, their capitalism. As far as they have the enabling environment anywhere in Nigeria to thrive in business and capitalism, and their business is doing well, they do not care who is the president of Nigeria, they do not care who is leading Nigeria, they do not care what is happening to any other part of the country, as far as they have the enabling environment to thrive in their business and capitalism. Let me give you a vivid example to prove this. That's why the likes of Obi Kubanga and Kubanga chief priests are part of the city boys to advance the cause of Tinubu's presidency. Have you seen that? So they don't care who runs the country as far as their business thrive. The Igbos also have an agenda of having their personal country. That's the Biafra. And the dream of Biafra seems to be very slim and narrow, because apart from the Igbos, other tribes, other regions are not included in that agenda. And that makes the agenda of the actualization of Biafra becomes a big struggle. So you could see that each of these tribes of Nigeria are at war perpetually with each other with their different agenda that's against the collective growth of Nigeria. This is the reason why Nigeria will never become a true country, until these three forces align to form a common goal for Nigeria. Until these three forces come together to have a Nigerian dream. Listen to me, Nigeria can never be a true country. Believe it or not, until we dissolve these three forces, Nigeria will never become a true country. We would only, as we always do, proclaim one Nigeria with our lips, but in our heart, hypocrisy that promotes the agenda of these three regions are the predominant forces around Nigeria. Know this or perish.
Sure, I don't hear them. It's not about wealth. It's about life first. Because that issue of life is what led Igbos to declare Biafra. That led Ojukwu to declare Biafra. It's the issue of life. If it's about wealth, that one, Igbos wouldn't have much problem. But when lives are involved, people are being killed in numbers. That's when we started talking about Biafra. Okay? Then, having said that, I want you to still watch this. This man is saying something very important that people have been saying, even in the Senate, they are saying it, but up to today, nothing has come out of it, the kind of country that we are running. Let's watch him.
I never see people where they're greedy, like northern elites. I get video for now. When I know say if I come to make my video, I know they lie, and I know they look face, and I know they fear anybody. The reason why I'm putting up this video is for the video to reach you people. It's for the video to anger you people. It's for the video to look like a slap in you people's face. This is my video today. I know they respect anybody for this video. If you receive this video, if you send your region and they call out today, no come for comment section to tell me rubbish. The truth at the top. Northern elite, political elite, and the northern, some of the religious leaders and some of them big men there, they are very greedy. Since Oyibo come this country, some of them, where God help, then go Britain school, can't get money. They still join Oyibo since that time, enslave these people, make them today redundant, make them to be like say then they till this day, and they are pretending. Is it not in Zamfara? They say they get airports where they built for grant, where Chinese people and Oyibo, they carry fly plane, like that plane where land for road the other day. Nigerians take them. Nigerians there. Say the pilot land the plane miss way. Which kind of stupid talk? Which one be plane miss way? Why the plane no miss way? Enter bush. It can't enter concrete road. Imagine say they no see that plane. Who know what's in there inside that plane? Maybe not like this. All these planes don't they land every night. Maybe that plane don't they land here every night. They discharge military hardware for terrorists, for bandits. We don't know. Let's be realistic. We are not serious in this country. Citizens will see that plane that day, then for hold the pilot, search inside that plane. I have never seen anywhere a plane will land without compass. And Festus Kaimo, the Minister of Aviation, does not see it serious. The security chiefs did not see it needful. This is beginning to bring my attention to when people say helicopter, now they drop color and the materials for bandits for bush. For even Kaduna, southern Kaduna that time, they talk all these things, we think say that story. How can aircraft land on the roads that then they tie after the man take off again? They say he missed road. Now thunder go fire anybody who believe that story. That pilot has been landing there. Maybe people weren't supposed to deliver. No, they can't discharge. They say you don't know where. So now where is the plane? Did they catch the plane? Did they catch the pilot? Did they interrogate them? Everything is no. This is the country we are. Let me not deviate. Is it not in Zamfara plane they land? They carry gold. All the whole north get solid mineral. Different solid minerals. What is the government doing about it? Are they mining that mineral the way that they have sold all the whole oil wells that is in the south? The way that America have collected the whole oil wells and Britain in the south, that even we, where the Nigeria no see oil use, Dangote no see oil buy. Dangote no see oil buy, can never get quota away go do that refinery. If inside the line, make him come and tell Nigerians. If that oil had access to him, he could have not been talking about Strait of Hormuz, which means he's buying cheap oil in the Middle East. Every gold, every copper, everything, food for naught. Still yet, Almajiri children carry plates their water. Is it not a shame in 21st century? Everything. Not could have been Dubai of Africa. But wickedness and greed. Una no one build school, una no one build road, una no one build infrastructure, una no one build factories. Where these children go they walk. Only way to una they build, they put them for face. Una they tell them the way of the Lord, the way where they go take go meet God, meet everything. Is God poor? If I say what to una they tell these people, so una they practice them, they no go carry plates, they dirty. Some of them know they bath, then go carry dirty plates, they beg for food. Tomorrow they go say see not Almajiri, una say na tradition. What kind of stupid tradition is that? You people has to do something about it because your region is very rich. I don't want men then they come, they say, North, no, they rich. North is richer than South. God damn the oil. In the next 50 years time, that crude oil is useless. Then go begin the suck gas. They go tell you, say North, don't get anything. Who tell you, say North, don't get anything? If North, don't get anything, why is Britain one power to them for their hand? Before pre-independence. Now because of all the whole solid mineral, only Jos alone self, Plateau State get uncountable minerals. These people, they carry aircraft, they land every day, they push guns here. We there here, they talk story. These boys wear full bush everywhere, we carry betakala, where them buy them for? Now spirits, now supply them to them. Let me tell you something, not an elite. Now greediness, will not stay there inside. Now don't destroy that region to 80%. And if Almajiri children, make I give on another last expo. If Almajiri children, they're 25,000, Una they train another 25,000 bandits. Because these children no go school, they no get skill acquisition, they no get anything. Then you people think that at the end of the day, when they grow up to 20 years, they no get anything and they recruit them, they no go join. Una lie. And una think so una go sleep well. For that una place, una be big jokers of the century. If una know waiting they good for una now, all that money will una pack, go keep for overseas. They train una children so that they go come back as una done the position to be House of Rep members and governors and everything. They no go sleep. They no go get good peace to do anything the way they want to do. I'm just giving you people friendly advice. You people can take it. You people can leave it. I don't care. I have already told you people. First and foremost, we want to go withdraw Almajiri children for road. Begin to rebuild una region. We want to don't scatter with greediness. Una too greedy. Shame upon una. Una too greedy. Share this video.
Yes, having watched that, I will allow you to see something that bothers me a lot. We are talking about protecting our land, protecting our families, protecting our territories. The federal government has approved Sunday Igboho to protect Southwest. But we, the ESN that we have to protect our own side, what happens? I wonder what our legislators from the Southeast, what they are doing in the National Assembly. These are the issues that they should have brought up. Look into it. Now that the situation is very terrible and tense, they are not saying anything about it. They want them to come and kill everybody? Is that what they want? Well, somebody has a more detailed information about that. Let's hear him.
The same security when Nnamdi Kanu form for East, when be ESN, when they protect the whole Eastern, when they protect their community, when they protect their forest. Now the same security they for northern side. If you go northern Nigeria, there are a lot of different security, and Nigeria government know about this thing. Now Sunday Igboho don't come out say he won't form his own security when go protect all the whole Yoruba state. Everybody not talk. Nobody call these people say they be terrorists. Nobody call their name. But why be say the one when they for East, they talk say they be T group? I don't understand. Why? What did they solve for this country? Why be say anything when concern Igbo people on a go call a name? The same thing when Nnamdi Kanu they agitate for. When they arrest her, give her life imprisonment. Now waiting Sunday Igboho do. Nigeria forgive Sunday Igboho. Now Sunday Igboho wants to form his own security when go protect Yoruba land. They say that normal thing. I don't understand Nigeria. When we say anything when Igbo man do, na problem. We cannot continue like this. If we don't love each other, we cannot continue. This is just a simple truth.
All right, having listened to that guy, if you have anything you want to say, you can say it. People are now talking, everybody has his own ideology about this. Yes, I said I'll show you a story. It's a kind of story but it's a reality during the Civil War. So this preacher, I believe, is a half-caste, and he was narrating what happened during that war, how they escaped, how the British government sent letters to their family to escape, and that tells us a lot of things. But let's watch it first. When we come back, I will give just very short analysis and what I understood about that story. Let's watch it.
During Biafran War, my mother was here. And the British consulate sent a message to my mother as a British citizen and said, we are sending this message for you to get out before it's too late. That Nigeria is about to break into war and fire will be everywhere. And you who are living in the south of Nigeria, you will not escape it. So we have prepared for every British citizen. The last ship to get out from Nigeria will leave Port Harcourt on so day, so time. It is free. All you have to do is make sure you enter the last ship leaving Port Harcourt. That ship will sail from Port Harcourt to Lagos. When it lands at Lagos, the last aeroplane to leave Nigeria will take off at so time. Carry your documents to prove you are a British citizen. If you miss it, anything that happens to you, you are on your own. My mother called my papa and said, oh yeah, let's move. My father drove that car with all my brothers and sisters. Me, I followed there. They drove from this Calabar to Port Harcourt. When we reach Port Harcourt, the last ship to leave Nigeria, the engine has already started, and they were about to remove what is called the gangplank for you to climb inside the ship. When my father landed and my mother jumped out from the car and screamed, "Please don't go, we are here." They kept back that gangplank. We were the last family to enter the last ship to escape Biafran war. When we entered that ship, the door closed and took off to Lagos. When we got to Lagos, my father said to my mother, "You are going back to London with all of these children. Let me buy few things for you people." That buying few things, we landed at the last aeroplane late. The last flight has already full. And the man that was standing to check your documents to allow you to enter, when my mother landed with 6 children, the man said, "You are late and the plane is full. You cannot enter." "But madam, bring me your passport." She brought the passport. He said, "Yes, you are a British citizen. Your children, they don't have passports." He said, "They come under my passport. Madam, I will allow you to enter, but your 6 children will stay back with the father. If you don't like, madam, go and join your children and face the fire." That was how, out from nowhere, a very tall American reporter, taller than me, very huge, with a deep American baritone voice, landed and said, "Hey, if you don't allow this woman and her children to enter, I report for CNN, BBC, Voice of America, your name, I've carried your name already. I'm going to report you and your government to the ends of the earth. This wickedness you have done, and you, sir, I will take you up personally. I will sue you to court." That man turned to my mother and said, "Madam, enter and let your 6 children enter." I lie not, I stand under God with this microphone. We are the last family to enter the last aeroplane to escape Biafran war. And as we entered, the door shut. When we landed in Heathrow Airport, BBC filmed it. I still have the clip. I will show you where my mother came down from the aeroplane. And you will see me, you will see me. You see me coming out from the aeroplane. The last family from the last ship. I believe that American reporter was not an American reporter. It was an angel. It was an angel sent from God who knows our future. That is how all of my brothers and sisters, they are all in London till today, intact, nobody lost. Brother, a few days from now, the last ship and the last aeroplane is going to take off. If you fail to enter and God shuts the door, anything that happened to you, your own, rise up on your feet.
All right, my people, having watched that, I bet you that the man is, he's telling his own part of the story, but the angel appeared to him, according to him. The angel appeared to them and tell them to allow the mother to go with the family. So the Biafrans that were being killed the Biafrans that that we are about to face the war don't have angels. Do you get the point? So they don't have angels that will save them. It's only you. And people are there listening to this man, what he's saying. Very unfortunate. Well, let's listen to this. I'll come back. We are going to wrap it up.
All right. International press conference on the continued detention of Malam Nasru Ahmad El-Rufai and the alleged plot to poison him. On behalf of El-Rufai Life, El-Rufai Boys and Girls, Nasriya Youth Movement, and collection of Arewa youth groups, we welcome members of the press, the diplomatic community, Malam Nasru El-Rufai supporters, and ADC members here today. We have convened this international press conference because we can no longer remain silent. Malam Nasru Ahmad El-Rufai, a man who dedicated the greater part of his adult life to public service, now finds himself in a situation that raises serious questions about the state of justice and democracy in Nigeria. For over 100 days, he has been held in detention under conditions that many legal minds consider punitive rather than protective of the judicial process. As co-supporters who have worked with Malam Nasru El-Rufai through these years, as Governor of Kaduna State and as Minister of Federal Capital Territory, we know the depth of his commitment to this country. Malam Nasru El-Rufai never ran away from accountability. He returned to Nigeria from abroad to honor this particular invitation. Yet, despite court orders granting him bail, he remained in custody of ICPC and sometimes in DSS. This is not the Nigeria many of us fought and hoped for. What makes this situation even more disturbing, as the recent public allegation by a political commentator, Timmy Frank, who stated that there is a plot within the security cycle to poison Malam Nasru and release him in conditions that could lead to his death outside custody. These are not ordinary allegations. They speak to the possibility of state-sponsored harm against a citizen who has not been convicted of any crime. Such claims coming from a source with claimed connection within the system cannot be ignored or treated lightly. We are deeply troubled by declaring double standard in the application of justice in Nigeria today. While Malam Nasru El-Rufai and several of his former associates are being subjected to prolonged detention and unrealistic bail conditions, other individuals facing far more serious allegations appear to enjoy relative freedom and even political reward. This selective approach to justice is ending the public confidence and creating the dangerous impression that the law is being used as a tool against political opponents rather than an instrument of fairness. For instance, the former Kogi Governor Yahaya Bello, who is facing allegations involving over 80 billion and resisted arrest by the EFCC in a dramatic manner, was eventually granted bail under conditions that allow him reasonable freedom, even to travel to Saudi. Today, he is actively contesting as the APC senatorial candidate for Kogi Central under the ruling party, APC. Similarly, former Delta State Governor Ifeanyi Okowa, who faced serious allegations bordering on the mismanagement of trillions in his state, has found political accommodation and positioning himself within the ruling APC structure. We have also seen how former Imo State Governor Rochas Okorochas, who had multiple cases involving billions of naira, continued his political activities with relative ease. His allies and family members have also benefited from political appointment under the current administration. These individuals, despite facing grave allegations, have not been subjected to the kind of prolonged detention, impossible bail conditions, or alleged plot to eliminate them that we are now witnessing in the case of Malam Nasir Ahmed El-Rufai. This selective application of justice raises fundamental question. Why is it that some former governors with far more serious financial allegations are working freely, contesting election under the ruling party, and even being considered for higher political offices, while Malam Nasir Ahmed El-Rufai, who has not been convicted of any offense, is being kept in detention through what appears to be deliberate difficult bail condition? This disparity is becoming too obvious to ignore and is damaging the credibility of our justice system. One cost of this prolonged detention cannot be overlooked. Malam Nasir El-Rufai is not just a former governor or a minister. He is a husband, a father, a grandfather. His continuous absence from his family, his inability to receive proper medical attention when needed, and the restriction placed on his access to loved ones and legal counsel are causing deep pain not only to his immediate family, but to millions of Nigeria who see him as a leader. Beyond the personal level, what is happening to Malam Nasir El-Rufai has wider implications for our democracy in Nigeria. When a government uses the instrument of the state to keep opposition figures in detention through questionable legal processes, while shielding or accommodating others with heavier allegations, it sends a chilling message. It tells young people that competence and courage may not be punished, may be punished rather than be rewarded. It tells the North that its leaders can be targeted while others are protected. This is a dangerous path for any democracy to work. We have watched with concern as institutions that should be independent appear to be under pressure. Court adjournment that stretch for weeks, bail conditions that are almost impossible to meet, and the apparent disregard for previous court orders have created a situation where justice seems delayed and in some cases denied. This is not the judiciary many Nigerians respect and look up to. As people who believe in Malam Nasir Ahmed El-Rufai vision for a better Nigeria, we are compelled to speak. We do not seek special treatment for him. We only demand that he should be treated like every other citizens with fairness, with respect for the law, and with the presumption of his innocence, as the Constitution of Nigeria guaranteed. In light of the above, we make the following demand to the federal government, which is led by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and the Kaduna State government, which is led by His Excellency Senator Malam Ubasani. Immediate and transparent investigation. The federal government must immediately investigate the serious allegation made by Timi Frank regarding a plot to poison Malam Nasir El-Rufai. This investigation must be independent, thorough, and its finding must be made public. The second demand is review of bail condition. The court should urgently review the current bail condition imposed on Malam Nasir Ahmed El-Rufai and grant him reasonable bail in accordance with the law. Prolonged detention through unrealistic condition is violation of his fundamental human rights as a Nigerian and as a human being. Our third demand, the federal government must guarantee Malam Nasir El-Rufai's safety, while our fourth demand is end to selective persecution. The federal government and relevant agencies must stop targeted harassment and prosecution of opposition figures, particularly those coming from Arewa region, who appear to be bearing the brunt of this crackdown. Our fifth demand, respect for court orders. All court orders granting access to medical care, family and legal counsel must be respected without further hindrance or excuse. Nigeria's democracy is still young. It survived military rule because many people refuse to give up on the idea of a governed by law and not by whom of those in power. We cannot afford to return to an era where political differences are settled through the manipulation of institutions rather than through fair competition and due process. We call on the international community, diplomatic missions, human rights organizations, and all well-meaning Nigerians to pay close attention to what is happening. The treatment of Malam Nasir El-Rufai is not just about one man. It is whether Nigeria will remain a country where the law protects everyone or becomes a weapon used against some. We will not be silent, we will not be intimidated, and we will not stop demanding justice for Malam Nasir El-Rufai, whose rights are being violated. The movement is rising. Sorry, let me add this. It's not part of the press statement, but I want to assure every Nigerian that if we continue to allow these kind of things to happen in Nigeria, 2027 might be our last attempt to try having election. Because if we don't fight APC, if we don't fight the evil in it, both the ones in human being forms and in their action, we are going to be worse than the military rules that we are celebrating. We are having democracy now. So I would like to call our northern brothers, especially those from Kaduna. We must rise up. We must resist Obasani's attempt to make Kaduna a one-party system. And arresting of Malam Nasir El-Rufai will not stop us from our plans and our mission of sending this government back to where they belong. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to Lagos, while Obasani might also follow him as well. I would like to state something clearly. If there is one thing the federal government, ICPC, have been doing since the beginning of this ordeal, is that we all know they lie. They lie too much because, one, everyone saw when Hajia Aisha went there, it was 7, not 9. She was there 7, and they are saying they have protocol. Their on time is from 6 p.m. to...
Yes, from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m.
So, on the question of why they are still holding Malam Nasir El-Rufai, I think maybe you will help us, since you are from NTA. I know you people are closer to government. You should help us ask President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and Malam Obasani and the chairman of the ICPC, the guy from, I think, Jigawa, that why is he still holding Malam? And
They said he did not meet his bail condition.
the bail condition is not something that someone can attain, which is unrealistic, which emir from Kaduna, with the kind of tyranny Obasani is unleashing on us, will agree to do a shorty on Malam. It's not possible. Which civil servant, based on our wages in Nigeria, which civil servant will own a house in Asokoro? Minimum of amount you can get house in Asokoro is close to 300 million upward. If you calculate our civil service wages, how much our PAMSEC living office with, even those in federal government. So those bail conditions are planned so that Malam Nasir El-Rufai will not meet them. And believe me, we are law-abiding, and we are talking softly now because we are Nigerians. Someone like me, I have nothing to fear, and I fear nobody except my Creator. But wallahi, by Allah, if they continue doing this to Malam Nasir El-Rufai and other leaders, we will speak and we will take action, and our actions are going to be loud. They think I'm joking, but we are looking into that. We'll be after this press statement. We'll wait for them and see whether they are going to get back to their senses, or we have to go back to the comradeship era.
Okay, thank you very much. Yes, thank you very much. First and foremost, the allegation came out from one of the famous, let me say, stalwarts of the APC itself, which is the ruling party. Now, Malam Nasru is a member of ADC, as we all know. Now, assuming it was somebody from ADC that made that allegation, it will look as if it's a party or politics rather. Yes. But it came from a member of the ruling party, right? An ex-official of that same party, Timmy Frank. Now, thank God, Timmy made it with all emphasis. In fact, it was a press release, which I believe some of the press men here must have interrogated that same allegation from Timmy. So what we are saying is we are amplifying what such a prominent member of APC could say, could tell the world, to please let us escalate this, if possible, and we demand with empathy, vehemently, that please, there should be an investigation in that particular claims, so that it is the right of this individual who has been denied access. Now, to answer your question, if anybody from his family, yes, like the question asked, which my fellow comrade here was also responding to, one of the wives of Malam made it categorically clear she was denied access to this man to give him food and drugs. In fact, she sat with his doctor for 3 hours. Now, the doctor could not access this, not until that woman raised the alarm
that this is it. Some of you press members actually rushed to the scene. It is very clear that Malam is going through some health challenges which has to do with ears and his eyes. Now, there has been some back and forth to the hospitals. Now, how do we tell that this same illness is not even symptoms of poison? In the first place, that building, how safety is that building? How long do they intend to keep you under that building? So if we had before now, the same individual raised alarm that poisonous substance was imported into the country. And he wrote a letter demanding the accountability of such supplies. And nobody said anything. And today, the same individual is under detention and is having eye problem, an ear problem, and he has been denied. So, under democracy, not military dictatorship leadership, you want us to all assume that all is well with this. No. Nigerians deserve better. Malam Nasru El-Rufai is somebody that should be allowed to go home on self-recognition. No matter the case. After all, it's not about murder. It's not about what? Maybe plots. Coup plot, sorry. So on that ground, for God's sake, why is Malam being turned into political instrument by the so-called governor in Kaduna, Malam Obasani? This is somebody that wrote on the back of this same individual.
All right, my people, I thank you for coming along with me. Yes, I am still Chinedu. If you have not subscribed to this channel, please click on the subscription button, notification bell, and like this video. Don't forget to share it. Till I come your way next time, I say bye.